Mark Renshaw is an Australian racing cyclist with UCI ProTeam Etixx-Quick Step. His most notable wins are the general classification of the 2011 Tour of Qatar, and the one-day race Clásica de Almería in 2013. From 2009 to 2011, while at Team Columbia High Road, and since 2014, Renshaw has been known as the main lead-out man for fellow sprinter Mark Cavendish. Early life and amateur career. Renshaw, who was born in Bathurst, New South Wales, began his career as a track cyclist riding for the Bathurst Cycle Club. Being coached at club level by Mark Windsor, he showed early promise, and went on to be selected for the Western Region Academy of Sport. At the under-17s level, in the 1998 Australian Track Championships, he won gold in the team's pursuit, scratch race, time trial, and individual pursuit, and silver in the flying 200m time trial. As a first-year under-19 rider, Renshaw continued to achieve strong results on the velodrome. His results included third in the time trial, fourth in the individual pursuit, fifth in the flying 200m time trial, third in the sprint, first in the team's pursuit, and first in the Olympic sprint. Renshaw was then selected to compete for Australia in the Junior World Track Championships, where he became a world champion, alongside Joby Dorja and Ben Kersen, in the Olympic sprint. As a second-year under-19 rider, Renshaw had a very successful national track championship, mirroring that of his earlier success as a second-year under-17 rider. He was first in the Olympic sprint, first in the time trial, second in the individual pursuit, first in the team pursuit, fourth in the keirin and first in the scratch race. Again Renshaw was chosen to compete in the Junior World Championships. In these championships, Renshaw added individual World Championship success to his team's success from the previous season, returning to Australia a champion in the 1000m time trial, as well as defending his team's crown in the Olympic sprint, and thus becoming a triple World Junior champion. As a senior, Renshaw began to concentrate more on an endurance program, in the hope of becoming a professional road cyclist. However, in 2001, as a first-year senior, he won the overall Track World Cup in his pet event as a junior, the 1 km time trial. It was a transition season however, and by season's end his focus had switched to longer events. He was an Australian Institute of Sport scholarship holder for the 2004 Athens Summer Olympic Games. 2002 was a breakthrough year for Renshaw as an endurance track cyclist. Throughout the year he placed consistently in the points race, Madison and team's pursuit, and went on to be part of the Australian team pursuit team that broke the world record at the Manchester Commonwealth Games. He was also later part of the Australian Senior World Championship winning team pursuit team. Professional career. 2004 Euro 2008, transition to road. In 2002 Renshaw's road career also began to take off when he was selected in the Brad McGee organised NSWISF DJEUX development squad. Because of Renshaw's involvement in this squad he was soon riding in France with amateur squad SCO Dijon, which opened the door for him to join the senior FDJEUX.com squad in 2004. Renshaw returned to the track in 2004, and in the World Championships competed in the Madison, points race and team's pursuit. Renshaw crashed out in the points race, and finished fourth in the Madison. The Australian team pursuit team went on to win gold. After having raced all of the World Cup rounds in the Madison event, and in the process qualifying Australia for the Olympic spot, Renshaw was selected to ride the points race in the Madison at the Games. However, there was controversy when in the lead-up to the event, Australian selectors chose experienced road rider, Stuart O'Grady to partner Graham Brown over Renshaw in the Madison event. Renshaw still competed in the points race, where he placed 6th. Renshaw stayed with FDJEUX.com for 2 seasons, before he moved to Credit Agricole, with the main aim of using his track bike handling experience to ride as lead-out for Thor Hushovd. Renshaw showed strong early season form, taking out the Geelong Bay Series criterium for the second consecutive year. This led to him racing as Credit Agricole's main sprinter in the early events, where he picked up his first Pro Tour victory in the first stage of his local Pro Tour event, the Tour Down Under. Renshaw went on to lead the general classification of the Tour Down Under, until the penultimate Willinger Hills stage, where his lack of climbing ability meant he lost considerable time in the race lead to future teammate André Greipel. It was during his time with Crédit Agricole that Renshaw made his Tour de France debut in 2008, after missing the 2007 race through illness. In the 2008 race, Renshaw received great praise for his role in Thor Hushovd's win on Stage 2 of the race. After the Crédit Agricole team folded at the end of 2008, Renshaw was hired for Team Columbia High Road. His primary responsibility in major races was as lead-out rider for sprinter Mark Cavendish. After his first season with Columbia in 2009, Renshaw received praise from commentators and fellow riders alike for his part in Cavendish's hugely successful tour and season in general, and was now commonly referred to as the world's best lead-out man. Renshaw's individual highlight of the 2009 season was possibly his second-placed finish on the final stage of the Tour de France, after a lead-out that also gave Cavendish the victory. 2009 After a successful first season as lead-out man for Mark Cavendish, with Team Columbia High Road in 2009, Renshaw was primed for a big season in 2010. His planned season schedule was to ride the Tour Down Under, the Tour de France and then the World Championships, a Euro being held for the first time at home for Renshaw, in Australia. These plans soon changed when he was diagnosed with Epstein-Barr virus in the pre-season, which put his whole season behind. Renshaw missed his home tour, the Tour Down Under, and didn't return to Europe and serious training until February. This, coincidentally, roughly matched a delayed start to Cavendish's season, and also meant that Renshaw should be peaking later for his goal of the World Championships late in the year. Renshaw's season goals remained the World Championships, the Tour de France, a Euro as lead-out man for Cavendish, as well as the Tour of California, where he would again be riding for Cavendish. 2010, Tour de France disqualification during the sprint finish of stage 11 in the Tour de France, while leading out Cavendish, Renshaw was disqualified and removed from the race for head-butting Garmin Transitions lead-out man, Julian Dean, and unfair blocking of Tyler Farrar by forcing him into the barriers. After the race, Tour Technical Director Jean-François Pesquet explained, "Renshaw is out. We watched the film once and it was blatant. He head-butted Dean like in a Keirin race. This is a bike race, not a gladiator, a Euro unregistered trademark S arena. Everybody could have ended up on their backs. The punishment was unprecedented. The last time someone was removed from the race for a non-doping related offense was Tom Steels in 1997, for throwing his water bottle at a competitor during the sprint finish, a Euro, an offense rated much more severe and unsportsmanlike." Four times green jersey winner, Sean Kelly disagreed, "When you consider the first movement from Dean, who was moving from right to left, the headbutting was normal." 2011 Mark had a successful 2011 season, winning Stage 4 and then the general classification of the Tour of Qatar, a Euro, beating notable sprinters Tom Boonen, Daniel Bonatti and Heinrich Horsler. Then he went on to reaffirm his reputation as the world's best lead-out man at the Tour de France, a Euro, helping Mark Cavendish to 5 stage wins and the green jersey. However, Mark's season ended in disappointment when he was controversially overlooked for the Australian World Championships team, a Euro, in what was deemed a sprinter-friendly circuit. It was claimed by Renshaw and others in the media that this may have been because he hadn't signed for new Australian pro team Green Edge. Renshaw responded by placing second, a Euro, after leading out teammate Cavendish, a Euro, in the first 2 stages of the Tour of Britain, before going on to win Stage 5 himself. 2012 Mark signed with the Dutch Rabobank squad before the start of the 2012 season, taking the chance to race for himself rather than continuing to lead out Cavendish. After hearing the news, Cavendish claimed that no one could do the same job Renshaw had done for him the previous 3 years, reiterating the point that he believed Renshaw to be the best in the world at leading out a sprinter. Renshaw won Stage 4 of the Tour of Turkey. The mass sprint was an extremely close affair, with Renshaw taking the win over fellow Australian Matthew Goss. The narrow margin was impossible to distinguish with the naked eye, even on the photo finish. Renshaw withdrew from the Tour de France on stage 12 in the mountains with approximately 72 kilometers to go, after succumbing to injuries from 4 separate falls earlier in the Tour. 2013 In 2013, his team's name changed to Blanco Pro Cycling, as Rabobank decided to withdraw their cycling sponsorship. In February at the Clásica de Almería, Renshaw benefited from a good lead-out and bagged his first win of the season. In April, Renshaw crashed heavily in the final stretch of the Tour of Turkey's second stage while he was the second man on the road, causing a mass pile-up. He fractured his collarbone, suffered a concussion and lost a tooth in the accident. On July 10, it was announced that Renshaw would join Omega Pharma Quick Step for the 2014 season, joining former HTC Hero teammate Mark Cavendish at the squad. 2014 In September, as his leader Cavendish did not feel on form after multiple crashes, Renshaw took sprinting duties at the Tour of Britain and prevailed in the mass gallop of Stage 2. 2015 Renshaw spent the 2015 season working as Cavendish's lead-out man, with his best personal result a third-place finish at the Clásica de Almería, which Cavendish won. On September 29, it was announced that he had joined Cavendish and their former teammate Bernhard Eisel in signing for MTN Quebec soon to be renamed as Team Dimension Data for the 2016 season. Personal life: Renshaw has Dutch grandparents who emigrated to Australia after the Second World War. In November 2009, Mark announced his engagement to longtime partner Christina Harris. They married in a private ceremony in Madgee, NSW in November 2010. Major results. Notes. External links: Mark Renshaw's profile at Cycling Base, Mark Renshaw profile at Cycling Archives.